So what's going on today, guys? Today we have Eric that I had met in another Discord's call, and he was presenting some wholesale knowledge, and I really enjoyed it. Eric, if you could just maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and that'd be great, and then we can get into the call. Thank you.
Yeah, so glad to be here. I was a high school teacher and central office administrator, and I did that for 20 years. And then in like 2017, I discovered selling on Amazon, and I was looking for a reason to leave and retire early anyway. I was thinking about it this morning. I was like, what really burned me out about public education was the bureaucracy. And then I realized today all I did was I just traded instead of dealing with like the state and federal government. Now I have the same headaches. It's just with Amazon. Like I really didn't get out of it. It's just different headaches. Um, but at the end of it, so I started off like a lot of people just selling anything and everything. The end of the 2018 school year, I made a commitment to just try it full time. Um, we were in kind of a situation financially at home where we could afford to, kind of take the risk if it didn't succeed. And so I was doing a lot of retail arbitrage, you know, multi-state shopping trips and prepping stuff out of our home and our garage. And then started getting kind of burned out with that. And so in 2019, I just kind of decided I'm going to navigate and try to figure out the wholesale space. And at the time, I don't know how long you guys have been around, but like there was a time where us arbitrage sellers, we just thought there was this secret society, this secret knowledge, this secret world that the wholesale people knew and the rest of us didn't. Um, and so I guess I was just stupid enough to think I could figure it out, or that there were people that weren't as smart as me figuring it out. So it can't be like rocket science. And so made the commitment in 2019 to just fully commit to wholesale. And we've been doing wholesale ever since. And it's kind of the bread and butter, the the bread and butter of the business. We've since launched two private label brands, and we bought a third brand. And we manage two brands for other, manage the e-commerce Amazon portion of two other brands. And yeah, that's basically how we get to January of 2025.
Cool. I know you have like a little wholesale course. I think you have one starting up here. Um, I don't know if you want to save that for now or if you want to do that towards the end, kind of go over it. But I know you have a lot of wholesale knowledge. If anybody has any questions at this point, if you want to give him something to talk about, maybe if you want to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely don't want this to be a pitch. So when I came into this space, it's a lot more open now, but there was a lot of gatekeeping of knowledge. There was a lot of stuff behind paywalls. And so I've always kind of felt like the people that are the loudest in this space are oftentimes um they want you to see the positives, they want you to see the sales, they want you to see you know the upside, but they don't really want to show you the ugly part because you can't really sell the ugly part or the hard part or the frustrating part. And so I've always kind of had this mentality of like, I think it goes back to being a teacher, where it was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm, you guys have a wholesale expert in this group right here with Diana. Like, there are people that know and have way more experience than I do, but I've always kind of had a philosophy of like, I'm willing to share everything I've learned up to this point. And I've also always had a kind of a philosophy of like, you know, if you're running a marathon, you don't have to be on mile 26 to instruct somebody else, along the way. You could be on mile 10 and you could talk to the people that are on, miles 1 through 10 and explain the challenges up to that point. Um, and so that's kind of my philosophy. So I don't consider myself an expert. I've learned a lot. Most of it's from doing dumb stuff, and spending way more money than a smart person would to figure it out. Um, but I've always been kind of an open book as far as like, teaching what I've learned in this space. So I have kind of gotten into the coaching, teaching kind of space. We are doing a small group, 2 nights, kind of a intense everything from A to Z, how we do it, the tools we use, the systems, processes, spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. So if that's something that anybody's interested in, we can send a link at the end or something like that. But I definitely want to provide some value, answer questions, kind of show you maybe some of the tools that we use, for anybody that's already dabbling in wholesale, thinking about wholesale. So yeah, I'm definitely definitely open to whatever the group wants tonight.
And definitely just to add on to that, I totally get that you're not like pushing the course, because the first time I actually talked to you, we talked for about an hour and a half with me and my guy Rich that's in here, and that was just all your free time, just talking the whole game of it, which I really appreciated. So that's
Yeah,
where I was like, wow, this guy's really he knows his stuff. He's willing to share. He also sells the course on the side, which maybe for some people maybe that might work better.
sure.
But what do we got? We got Aaliyah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this question today. I noticed that like you have a warehouse. So having a warehouse, that's probably helped you be able to get some wholesale, right? Versus not having a warehouse. But I was also thinking your place looks a lot like Amanda and Andrew's. Like it almost looks like a storefront.
It's
So
all
when
it
you
is. Yeah.
apply,
We
so
just
do
ran
you call it that? Are you like, I have a storefront? Because I know some wholesale places are more likely, to work with you if you actually have like a storefront.
retail store. So that 100% will help you. What I found is there are you kind of have the no Amazon people. You have the Amazon only if you sell, you have like a Shopify e-commerce site in that space, then we'll also kind of let you dabble in Amazon. But having a storefront definitely gets you into some conversations at not having it. That's not why we bought it. We bought it because it's dirt cheap, and it's 5 minutes from my house. It's just an old warehouse, or it used to be a hardware store that went out of business, and we outgrew our garage, and drove by this one day, called them up, said how much would it cost to rent. They told me $1,000 a month, and I said I'll take it. Like compared to traditional warehouse space in our area, $5,000 a month. So we make it work. It's not perfect. We could definitely use a loading dock, and we could definitely use some higher ceilings.
But I guess what I'm asking is having it where it's a storefront and not just a warehouse, like, does that help you? Like to be able to be like, oh, we actually have a storefront instead of just being like, I have a warehouse.
The only account that I can think of that we took advantage of that was really like, we called someone up, and they're like, well, we're not really taking any e-commerce people, and I could tell this rep was really kind of torn because he makes money when he sells products. And I was like, can we capitalize on the fact that this used to be a hardware store in any way, shape, or form? I was like, the owner, and it's still, if you Google it, it's going to come up. And so he kind of worked his magic a little bit to try, to get us the account set up. I think he probably maybe broke some internal rules behind the scenes, but I mean, I could absolutely portion off part of this and turn it into something. It's just not something I want to do. But if you have a storefront, you're absolutely going to have more opportunities, I think, than if you don't. However, if I were to do this all over again today, if I were to start today, I personally wouldn't go down the path of traditional wholesale with a warehouse, and I just wouldn't do it. It's just, I just think you can get the same with a prep center. There are some distributors and brands that will ship directly to Amazon for you. I just don't know if I would go through I paid $750 in heat bill last month, $115 a month in, internet and dumpster and I just don't know if I were to start over today, I don't know that I would go out of my way to do that.
Okay.
But
Well, like Amanda and Andrew who are in here, and I know Amanda isn't feeling well, so she's not asking questions out loud, and she kind of bounced off of my question there. But like for them, they are a prep center, but they're also they have like it's a storefront. Like they obviously don't have people come in and buy things from them,
Sure.
but could that benefit them, you know, because they have a storefront, or do
Yeah.
like the distributors like do they actually like, you know, because I've heard people say they'll Google and see, you know, they'll Google and look, you know, but like do they
Sure.
actually send people to check to see, do you have a store that you're selling, or do they like just Google and they're like, okay, you do have a storefront?
I've seen applications where they say send us pictures of the inside of your store. They want to make sure that their product fits with what you're selling. I've seen them say like show us like a planogram of like how you would display our products and where you would
Okay.
display them in our. But if you're just talking like a general merchandising, distributor or like a brand, I think probably the more niche the product is, or the more um, the more niche the brand is, maybe smaller brand, more artisan brands might be a little bit more apt to say like, no, I don't want my product. If you've got a gourmet food store, absolutely. But if you've got a, Amazon return center, just random crap, they might not be too keen on that.
Gotcha.
But it absolutely will. It will not hurt at all to capitalize on that. When you can call a distributor or brand or sales rep and say like, hey, we've got a brick and mortar retail store located in such and such, like that's gonna, in my experience, that's gonna open more doors for you than trying to navigate around the fact that you're trying to sell on Amazon. Only
Gotcha.
sell on Amazon.
Okay.
But
Thank
Eric,
Yeah.
excuse me, if you wouldn't do the brick and mortar store anymore, what route would you go? Just a prep center to Amazon?
I would probably, if I was starting over today, like if I was a brand new seller today with what I know today, I would probably, I would do a couple things. There's a couple ways I would do it. One, I think I would arbitrage. I would kind of see that as a stepping stone. For me personally, I don't see this as like the long-term play for me. You can't exit this. Nobody's going to walk in and offer me any money for this. There's just wholesale doesn't have any type of proprietary nature to it where someone's going to come in and be like, oh, you have something that we want to buy. Private label gives you that opportunity. So I would probably, sprint with arbitrage and then, cash out and do something else with it. Try to just accumulate as much cash as I could. I would maybe do private label. And I would, retail is not a bad thing to think of. We have a pet brand that when we take it to retail, we have a booth at a local farmers market. It's insane that like we make 50% markup. I mean, we double everything. If our buy cost is $10, we charge 20. If our buy cost is 15, we charge 30. And people just walk up and like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And I'm like, dude, I'm freaking, scraping for 10, 15, 20% over here on Amazon. It's a different world. So, but I think on the wholesale stuff, I would probably use Prep Center or see if I can get, brand, shipping directly to Amazon. But I just don't know. Now that I have it, I wouldn't get rid of it, but I just think for that same overhead, you could probably have your products prepped for you by somebody else, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And if you do have your products prepped by the brand, they actually put the SKU labels on before they ship it?
I haven't found that to be the case. So I'm trying to think of the stuff that we have. We don't have a ton of it, but like we have one brand that when the manufacturer stickers it, it's got an FN SKU as just part of the product packaging. and then they just ship it directly. We schedule the trucks, you know, we create the shipment and we just send them the box labels and the pallet labels, and they take care of it for us. So I don't know that you're going to probably get that level of prep at the brand level.
Right.
But I mean, it's worth an ask. But some will just say like, no, we're not doing any labels. Some will do like, yeah, no problem. We can put a label, you know, an FBA label on the outside of the box, and you know, a label on the pallet for you. That's no problem at all. So yeah,
I see. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah.
Christopher says, I've heard of needing a clear chain of custody from distribution wholesaler. That's question number one.
I've heard of needing a clear chain of custody from a distributor wholesale. So, you know, this is probably a better question for those of you that have kind of gone through the Section 3 situation. We haven't had to do any of that yet. It's probably something we should probably look into. I feel confident with the companies that we work with. I know where they're buying because most of the stuff we do is in the grocery space. And so I feel confident in the sales reps that I have and where I'm buying from, that in the event that we needed to kind of prove some chain of custody, I wouldn't have any issues with that. But that's not something we've started like asking for ahead of time. And maybe I'm naive and maybe I should be, but it's not anything we're doing right now. Let's see.
You get asked one more below it. Do you work with distributions that don't give any documentation about clear chain documents?
Kind of the same thing. Like we just haven't come across that yet, where we've had to kind of ask them to provide paperwork, you know, as to where they get it. So I don't really know that I've got a great answer for that. I guess if that was something you were concerned with, you know, when you talk to a sales rep, just kind of, you know, that and Amazon, the conversation comes up. I would just make that part of the conversation. Just say like, hey, I don't know if you're familiar, if you have any other e-commerce sellers, but it's getting a little dicey with Amazon right now. They're asking, you know, we're kind of required to kind of cover our butts a little bit more than normal. In the event that I had to kind of prove, you know, a chain of custody that goes all the way back to the manufacturer, would you guys be able to help me out with that? You know, I think that's a simple question you could ask for sure. So.
Excuse me, how do you approach the distributors? Like, do you approach them as a wholesaler supplier or export goods, or how do you? Because most of them, they don't like to work with Amazon sellers, right?
I feel like most of the phone calls that you make today, I don't think anybody's going to be offended by you, you know, by you asking about selling on Amazon. They've been forced to, in my experience, they've been forced to decide what to do with Amazon sell. Like it's the largest selling platform in the world. It's not like nobody's gonna be like, oh, and I don't know what do we haven't, you know, like we haven't really thought about Amazon. Like they either have yes, have at it, which a lot of them are in the grocery general merchandise space. Not all of them, but in my experience, a lot of them are. They're going to have a yes with brick and mortar. They're going to have a yes, but we have specific brands that were excluded from, you know, allowing you to buy. So if I were to call a brand or distributor today, I don't know that I would lead with the fact that I'm an Amazon seller. And I don't. I'm trying to pull up some of my call scripts. I usually say something along the lines of like, hey, you know, my name's Eric. own a company called XYZ Corporation. We're up in Flint, Michigan, and one of our buyers came across a couple products that intrigued them. Looks like you guys carry, this product and this product. I'm just curious to know what we would need to do to buy those, if we can buy those direct, or if you guys, have distributors that you work with, and just kind of see where the conversation goes from there. So yeah, I don't lead with the, hey, I'm an Amazon seller, but I don't lie about it, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. This is why I think it's really important, probably the most important. I don't know if it's the most important. One thing about wholesale that's different than arbitrage is I think you really have to consider yourself or somebody in the business to be a salesperson, sales rep on behalf of your business. So not that you have to be like an aggressive, like used car salesman, but like you are going to have to, like, you're going to have to pick up the phone. Well, you don't have to. I think you're going to have more success if you pick up the phone and you just try to talk to a real person on the other side of the phone, because that's where, there's this idea of like, people will tell you like relationships are everything in this space. And when I first heard that, it didn't make any sense to me at all. I was like, well, how do you have a relationship with a sales rep, or how do you have a relationship with a person you don't know? And then over time I figured it out. I was like, oh, if you can get behind that email and talk to the real person, that's where you can find out what the company's policy is on Amazon. That's where you can kind of start to go like, hey, man, I really want to place an order, little off on the price on this, this item. What kind of quantity would we need to be, purchasing to get the price down just a little bit, closer to this number? So having that mindset of like being the representative for your company, or the sales rep, or I think the sales rep is a good way to describe it. That's where you can kind of, get, because like I talked to a sales rep for a distributor one time, and he said that, I want to say he said they got 50 emails a week asking to open up a new account. And, so there's so many companies that are, just having VAs, spam, look at their price list, no money to be made, next. Spam, no money to be made, next. And so we always try, if we can, to spend money right away. If it looks like it's a potential, like if it's a promising account, I always try to spend at least some money, not some massive amount of money, but I just want them to know right away, like, I'm not here to waste your time or my time, like, trying to
money talks.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And then if you do your homework with your products, and then you go and straight up tell them, this is the product that I'm looking, and I'm gonna drop 5,000-10,000, whatever.
Yeah.
And now that just opens other doors.
Yeah. That same distributor, Great Lakes Wholesale, out of the Chicago area. This was several years ago. I was going to Chicago for something, and I had been getting their like daily inventory lists for a long time. And I went in I was like, hey, I'm going to Chicago. Can I come check out your showroom? So we go in the showroom, and he shows me around all this stuff that wasn't on their list that they mail out. And I placed an order, and it wasn't a huge order. It might have been like $5,000 or something like that. And he was like, oh, do you get my emails when we have updated inventory? I said, I think so. He's like, well, let me double check. And he's like, oh, you're in my kick the tires list. He's like, let me move you over to my I spend money list. And I was like, okay, that just kind of validated to me, like, there's, you know what I mean? Like, there are time wasters, and then there are people that, are
Spend
not
money.
time wasters. And by spending a little bit of money, I was able to identify myself as like, hey, I'm trying to buy inventory here. So that's, I don't even remember what the first question was that kind of led me down that path, but
Thank you, man. Appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah, no problem. Oh yeah, you were talking about crawling up. So yeah, I can't find I've got a little script that and I'll just read it or refresh myself before I pick up the phone, because
Exactly. To
it's
be
not always
natural.
comfortable. There's
Mhm.
fear of rejection, or so and I've got little talking points and I've got little rejection points. But it's all positive. It's all like, hey, would it be okay if I follow up in 6 months to see if your policy changes? Just different things like that.
Okay.
But I basically try to identify products that I'm interested in. And then when the conversation comes up about where you sell, that's when I say, we sell, primarily on Amazon. We sell some on Walmart. If you have your own Shopify site or something like that. And I don't, I personally wouldn't lie about it, because they're going to find out.
Yep.
One way or the other, they're going to find out.
I did have a quick question.
Yeah.
So kind of back to what you were saying before about the chain of custody. I know I already asked about that, but you said that, you provide documentation back to the manufacturer. And what if the distributor or supplier says, hey, we just don't do that? Is that something you would still consider possibly making a partnership with them, or you just pretty much just close out the book and move on?
Today, I would say I would consider it, still depending on what the products are. If I know that they're a type of product that is not prone to, counterfeit claims or anything like that. But I'm saying that on this side of any type of Section 3, hassle. So
Gotcha.
I've always operated under, and I'm not recommending this for somebody else, but like, I'm kind of like, I'll figure it out along the way. I think you could talk, doomsday yourself into paralysis. So
Okay.
I would say, for me personally, I guess it depended on the products. If it was, a popular, they sold seasonings and sauces and things like that, that I just, aren't prone to counterfeit claims, I might consider it. If it was cosmetics or health and beauty or something like that, I might, tread a little more lightly.
For sure.
But again, that's today, having never really had to go through the hassle of, and that's partially because I do think we stay in a pretty safe area, with the stuff that we sell.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
This question here: are you mostly brand direct or go through distributors?
I would say mostly distributors, with a handful of brand direct. I do think the future, I don't know, brand direct is like, there's pros and cons. Sometimes it works out great because, you think like, well, if I buy from the brand, I'm going to get it cheaper. And sometimes that's true, but other times, you're calling the brand and saying like, I would like to order 4 cases, and the distributor bought 4 truckloads, you know what I mean? And so your price at the distributor level is substantially cheaper than what it would be buying directly. So I think it kind of depends. I think distributors are a great place to start. I think most of them are, again, depends on what category you're in. And if you can get a hold and talk to a sales rep, I've even had sales reps go far, like going back to that whole relationships thing is really important. I've had distributors or sales reps go so far as like, when they learn you're an e-commerce guy, because they're going to make money by selling stuff. He was like, hey, do you want me to send you a list of all the stuff my other e-commerce guys are selling? I'm like, yeah, I would like you to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you've done a bunch of the work for me already, you know, like, so, so I think distributors are a great place to start. Uh, yeah, I think they're a great place to start. They're either going to have a yep, no problem, or sorry, you know, we're not allowed to take any new e-commerce sellers or whatever. But brand direct too, like sometimes it's hard with brand direct to get somebody to answer the phone because these people are, you know, scrambling, and it's, you know, especially if you're trying to target a brand that might work with you, somebody in that, you know, small to mid-sized brand, like, you know, it's difficult to get somebody to respond to a voicemail or an email. So I think there's pros and cons, and it, I think you could succeed with both models.
Do you by chance use like when you're looking for distributors to call up, or how are you getting their information? Are you going into like Google Maps? Are you looking in like local areas? Are you using like free directories?
Combination of all the above.
Okay,
See if I can pull
cool.
up a list of yeah, I mean, I think Google, great. I always pay attention to the trucks that are delivering things in my area. I always take a picture on my phone. Anytime I see a truck driving down the road that I don't recognize, like I just grab it and I'll come back home and I'll look at it. I'm trying to think what else. Let me pull up some stuff here.
Please, do you use Smart Scout?
Yep, Smart Scout. In fact, if we had talked about Brian, maybe kind of showing how we're using Smart Scout to kind of identify some of the brands and stuff that you could potentially work with.
Okay.
Brands that are likely to kind of work with sellers like us.
Would you say
Yeah.
Smart Scout's like a necessity or?
No, it's
Software.
like any tool. I think it's if you're trying to find brand direct, their brand portion of the back end of Smart Scout, it's you're already identifying the products that are already doing well. You're already identifying products that have like, you know, that are not Amazon dominated. They're not brand dominated. So you're doing a lot of the work before you even try to find a contact for the brand.
Like KPF, kind of like that, right?
What's that?
It's like KPF, kind of like, you know, when you do the filters in KPF. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, so by the time you filter everything out, you're like, okay, I just did it this morning or just a few minutes ago to refresh it in case we talked about it, to refresh my memory. I mean, I found like 895 brands that have products that are selling on Amazon that are selling between $40,000 and $200,000 a month on Amazon. So it's like these are already vetted brands, and so I think the cost of Smart Scout, if you're going to go that approach, is definitely worth it. But yeah, just I'm looking at my notes here that we cover in the class. Local delivery trucks, Google Maps, using the Smart Scout seller maps. There's a website called SpyFu that we can sometimes help us find some distributors, trade show directories. We'll use like hunter.io to try to, like, if we can't find any contact information, we'll use hunter.io to try to put in the domain name to try to work our way back into like the naming scheme of their emails in their company. Like if it's first initial, last name or whatever. LinkedIn is another way to find some contact info. So.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
How does one leverage themselves as being a new wholesale seller?
I think it goes back to, I think it was Carlos that said it, you know, money kind of talks. So if you start that conversation with, you know, hey, you know, I'd like to put a purchase order together. You know, I can spend $3,000 today. I can spend $5,000 today. I think the money's leverage. I don't, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about like taking brand management from somebody or like being exclusive, like then I think you got to have like some, track record of having it, of doing it successfully. But I think if you call a distributor, you talk to a sales rep, if they accept Amazon clients, if they accept Amazon sellers or Walmart sellers, it's not that difficult for them. It's not very expensive for them to set up an account for you. So
Eric,
I don't run into situations that I can think of where I've been, unless I was trying to, work with the brand directly. I remember one time a few years back where we were trying to work with a brand and they kind of wanted to vet us to see. I have had other people say, send us a link to your Amazon store, because they want to, they want to see like, hey, are you selling grocery products? Are you selling health and beauty products? Or are you one of these people that sells, a little bit of everything? Where does my product or my products fit in your product mix? But I haven't really had to like justify anything really as far as what I can bring to the table, unless I was asking for something more like exclusive or something like that.
Eric, do you come to them with the specific SKUs that you want to purchase?
I think that's a great place to start. I think it's a great conversation starter, because then it's like, you already know, it clearly shows that you've done some research. It's not like you're just going down a list of like potential people,
Right.
like you're a robocaller or something like that. I think it's definitely a place to start. Hey, these are the products that we found that led us to you guys. I think it's a great place to start.
Mhm. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. I wanted to clarify something with you. So I understand it. You were saying you utilize Smart Scout to find brands, correct? Like to go directly to the brand, or are you looking for brands to find their distributors? Or I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Yeah. Do you want me to, Scott? Do you want me to, or Brian? Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Kind
I
of
think
go
this
through
would be
that?
a great time. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me
Appreciate
kind of
that.
show you. I don't know if I have the keys to the car here, or
Yeah, you should. You should be able to do it.
let me know.
Yeah, we can see Smart Scout.
All right, hang on a second. Let me move some things around here. So here, I'll show you a couple things in Smart Scout that are useful for. They have tools that will help you as an arbitrage seller, but I think you could basically, if you have to keep a subscription, you can kind of get the same thing. But so a couple things that they have in here that that are useful for potential wholesale accounts is they actually have a database of suppliers. So when you go to suppliers, they have 2,155 suppliers that are in here, and you can filter those by state, geographic region, if whatever. So I'm going to say state equals MI for Michigan. So 56 suppliers, potential suppliers. And what's nice about this is, now they probably imported this from a trade show directory, maybe ASD, or I don't know where they got their data from. But so what's nice about this is you can actually go into the brand's web if they have a website, and I believe, is there a way? Yeah, if you click on the brand or on the supplier, it'll check to see if they're on Amazon. And so I just, Al Dente Pasta Company, I clicked on that, And from here, I can actually go into their products. I can actually see what products are already on Amazon. And I can also see like Amazon is kind of dominating some of these. Amazon's been in stock for a lot of these. And I can also see like, is the brand the seller? So the brand is the seller on a bunch of listings. So, I mean, it might be worth a phone call, but between Amazon and the brand, you've got almost 80% of
iBooks.
the brand ownership, the estimated brand share. So it's not likely that they're going to say yes to me. But it, you know, it's potentially a conversation. They might be ready to move on from Amazon. They might be ready to, move on from doing it themselves. But just, I can see that going into it. So I can do a little bit more work ahead of time. So that suppliers directory, not only does it provide you a bunch of suppliers that you can sort by region or whatever, you can actually see if their brand is on Amazon. And I found one just recently. I was getting ready to call and I was like, oh, let me double check real quick. And as soon as I clicked on it, I'm trying to remember what it was. As soon as I clicked on it, I was like, oh, the brand is 100% of the listings are owned by the brand. Like I'm not going to pick up the phone. So there's the suppliers stuff. But the way I use the brands tool is, so when you click on brands, there are 471,000 brands in Smart Scout's database. So what I will do, and these are the filters that Scott Needham teaches. So it's not like these aren't mine. But basically what we want to do is we want to filter that down to brands that might potentially work with us. So the first thing we can do is we can go down, very similar to Keepa. We can say Amazon in stock rate, maximum of like 10%. And again, all these numbers you can change and get different results. These are Scott's filters. So we don't want any brand where Amazon is the dominant seller. Maximum number of sellers. Let's see. Average FBA sellers. We want products, again, that are kind of somewhere between 2 and 10. So if it's 1, we know it's probably a private label. If it's 2, it's possible, likely that they allow FBA, third-party sellers. If it's more than 10, it's probably maybe a little bit saturated. So this is the kind of the recommended, brands that have an average FBA sellers between 2 and 10. Dominant seller percent of sales, maximum of 50. So we don't want any brands where there's a dominant seller that's selling almost all the products for this brand, because they probably have either the brand themselves or they have some kind of exclusive agreement or something like that. Revenue, estimated monthly revenue. Again, these are kind of Scott's recommendations. So $40,000 to $200,000. And again, you can change these and get different results, but basically, like, this brand is doing pretty well on Amazon, but they're not so big that they're not likely to open an account with us. So if we click apply on those filters, that brings us to 865 brands that are potentially willing to work with a seller like us. And then from there, you can you can filter this by category. Oh, you know what? I think you got to do it in here. Primary category. So again, if you're, you sell a lot of products in the patio, lawn, and garden space, pet supplies, wherever. I'll just try patio, lawn, and garden here just for fun. And so we've got 13 brands that kind of met all that criteria. And again, no guarantee that they're going to work with us. But we can kind of poke around here and see these brands. And if we wanted to go deeper, we can go into the brand dashboard and we can see the products that they sell. We can see the sellers. So here's one where even though the brand is under 50%, it's probably likely that the brand is not going to let us work with them. They're on 14 of the brand's listings and they've got 46.9% of the brand share. So probably not going to be able to get an account there. Let's see. Looks like some chicken stuff. This looks like it's probably a Chinese company. So again, probably not going to be able to land anything there. So it does look like they've got one kind of dominant seller, but it's still not all the listings. So this is called Easy Care. And then from there, I'm just gonna, I would go down a path of, these are what? Garden algicide. easycarewater.com. Can you guys see this screen too, or is it just stuck on Smart Scout?
No, we can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy Care.
Yeah. So there's a 1-800 number, products about us. I'm looking for some type of contact or some type of wholesale inquiry. Not sure what's going on there. Here's an about us staff. If I can find somebody like on a sales team. So here's Tiffany. I wouldn't have any reservations picking up the phone right there. I just said, hey, Tiffany, my name is Eric. I own a company called ABC Distribution up in Flint, Michigan. One of our buyers was evaluating some products that might be interested in carrying and came across the Easy Care line of algicides, or do a little bit of research so I'm not rambling or whatever. Was just wondering if you guys sell direct or do you sell through distributors, and just see where the conversation says. I would guess, just based upon prior experience, that it might be a no. It might be like, oh, we only sell to pool companies or something like that. But it's worth a phone call. Worst case scenario, she says, yeah, sorry. Best case scenario, she goes, yeah, let's send you a price list. And then while you're in there too, you can almost kind of do some reverse, kind of almost storefront stalking. You can pull up these other sellers and see what else they sell. But I click on the right, NRS World offers. So this is kind of the main brand, or the main. So this is kind of maybe encouraging to me. The brand or the seller that had the most offers of this product looks to be frick, where'd it go? Looks to be a seller of a bunch of other random crap. So maybe they do open accounts with with e-commerce sellers. So, but I think that just kind of shows you the like. So instead of like literally Googling, I think a great thing to search on Google is just the words wholesale inquiry. Because most websites, if they have a, usually there's some kind of wholesale inquiry form. So if you kind of go this approach, I'll sometimes just go through here and just open up a bunch of tabs. So if you go this approach, I have no idea if these products are on Amazon, if they do well on Amazon, if it's even worth taking the time to kind of reach out. But if you go this approach, it's like, well, these are already products that are demonstrating, sales on Amazon. So that's one of the things that Smart Scout does that nobody else really does. And then if you're really, in a good position, maybe you've spent some money there. This is a prime brand to, have a conversation about, no, maybe Amazon is a seller. So maybe they've moved on from Amazon. I would definitely want to find out some more about that, but definitely a prime brand that needs a little TLC. So the type of brand that we would be interested in, maybe having a conversation about, being an exclusive seller. So any questions on kind of on that type of stuff?
Nice.
Thank
Do you
you for
use
going over that, Eric. That was
sorry.
nice. Sorry, Carlos, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying thank you for going over that. That was awesome. Seeing,
Sure.
Diving deep into the Smart Scout there to help us with that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and so a couple other things you can do in Smart Scout too. Again, I'm an affiliate, and I think Amanda or somebody else is an affiliate in this group, so I won't, use their link. But another thing that's kind of, you can use it for storefront stalking. You can, like, if you find a seller, you can come into the seller section and put, search for the seller and find the products that they're carrying and different things like that. But you can also go to the seller map, and so these are all the Amazon sellers in the world, I believe. So I might say like 10,000 sellers in the top 10,000 sellers in the let's just go back to the patio, lawn and garden space. So then from there, what I will do sometimes is like, I'll go to my geographic area, and maybe 10,000 is too much. Let's take it down to 5,000. So these are top 5,000 sellers. Primary category is lawn and garden. And so you can kind of poke around and see, like, I always kind of have this philosophy, like, these people are getting their inventory from somewhere. And if they're all kind of concentrated in the same area, there's a chance that they're getting that inventory, from somewhere in that geographic region. And so sometimes I'll just kind of poke around. Some of these are going to be private label. Some of them are going to be the brand direct. But I might just kind of poke around.
Do the different colors mean anything? Like the purple versus
That's a
the
great
brown or
question.
yellow?
Oh, this
Okay.
is a new feature. It thinks that the tan is private label.
Oh,
And so
okay.
it must be able to identify that maybe that buy box percentage share. I think that's relatively new. I haven't noticed that before. So the detector experts. So these are people in the metal detector space. What else do we got over here? Petra Tools. This looks like it's probably private label as well. Petra Tools, and the brand is Petra. But you can kind of see like, let me choose another category. Let me go to grocery. You know what I'll do is, so we've got a couple grocery distributors in Detroit. And so you start to see some of the same names on the same, you know, on the same listings. And so what I'll do is sometimes just go like, hey, have they found something that I don't have access to? Or you know, have they found something that I haven't found? And so I'll just kind of use it to poke around. And so like, I know I've got a distributor that carries Hidden Valley in Detroit. Something seems off here. This must be for like a 12 pack or 24 pack. So like there's a distributor in Detroit called Universal Wholesale. Buttermilk recipe. Buttermilk chicken. That looks like it's a different. Is that that's a chicken seasoning? But I was hoping we could make some money live together. But I'll kind of use that sometimes as like a, you know, like a storefront stalking kind of thing where I'll just kind of poke around and just kind of see, you know, are there any other stores or any other sellers that are kind of in my, you know, monthly kind of revenue range. This guy here is like a notorious bundle it with a business card kind of person. You know, like here's one. This stuff comes and goes. It's crazy popular. No, he's got it with his little card. So if Amazon decides to really enforce it, this stuff's all going to get shut down, but we'll see.
Hmm.
So I've got a distributor in Detroit called Value Wholesale that carries Swan. So yeah, he put this under his private label. He created this bundle under his private label brand. So I'm not going to mess with that, but you kind of get the idea of how you can kind of use it to that's like his whole business is basically these bundles that are kind of bundled under his own brand.
Eric, so you mean private label on wholesale?
Basically, yeah. But this is a
the
really
Amazon allowed to do that, or is
well,
against Amazon, or
they allowed it for a long time, and then they came in and they put the hammer down on a lot of sellers. And Dana would probably know a little bit more about this than I would, but I they my understanding is they shut down some really, really big sellers, like hundreds of, or you know, 70-80 million dollar a year sellers for
wow.
selling these kind of private label bundles.
Soon as you said the word bundles, like you couldn't see it, but I was like, what? No, we're not having this conversation.
No,
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 I'm just
no,
kinda-
no, no. Bad road. Steer
Yeah.
left, steer left.
There was a stretch where it was, you know, it was allowed.
It wasn't policed. It
Yeah,
was never
exactly.
allowed. Let's
Yeah,
put it
that's
that
true,
way. It was
yeah.
never regulated.
Yep,
We took advantage. We had a good time.
yep.
People that didn't see the writing on the wall and Amazon's angry eyes looking at them, they were shut down. They were shut down hard. They shut down
Yeah.
so many people
Yep.
that they kind of walked into a bit of a mess, and they had to walk the policy back to walk it forward properly.
Sure.
So it was a great old time. I had popcorn ready, all the seasonings for my popcorn, the butter was everywhere, tea was hot and boiling. I loved the end of September, beginning of October. And sadly, there were some people that got shut down right at AMZU. And that's when I knew that Q4 was right there. So
Yeah.
do not do bundling
Yeah,
unless
when you see,
understand.
yeah, when you see that, you know, it's definitely, like I said, we got away with it for a while. But that's just not, it's not the way to go anymore. But like just this, again, this is, I'm not gonna get rich off this, but like just kind of using that seller map method. So I find that this other seller near me is selling this Zatarain's Big and Zesty Black and Season. I can get this from a supplier for $2.75. At $2.75, I make $1.44, 52% ROI. Again, if this met your criteria, it sells 281 times a month, you know. And it looks like that 744, you know, that this price is about as low as it's gone. So new offer count going up. You know, that's always a little bit concerning, but
What calculator are you using there?
this is AZ Insight. I have Seller Amp as well. I was an early adopter of AZ Insight before Seller Amp came out, and I just know where everything is a lot. It's just what I was trained on.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with, you know, Seller Amp or whatever. So
So you're using Smart Scout more than Keepa necessarily, like, you know, if you're storefront stocking and things like that.
yeah, I think it's a lot of the same data.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they've done like it's just they've thought of it in a different way, and they've kind of packaged it in a way that's just a little bit more user friendly. But it's a lot of the same data.
Okay.
It's just kind of the way they package it. So again, I don't know that I would subscribe to this just for storefront stocking, but if you feel like there's some other things that you know, might be helpful to you, it might be worth, you know, might be worth checking out. So yeah, that's kind of the primary. And then we also use they've got a UPC scanner. So going back to that value wholesale company, they have a spreadsheet that I can export with unit pricing and case pricing. And so I will usually run it twice. I'll say, hey, run the case UPC and then run a unit UPC. And then let's see if anything comes out. So, you know, I can kind of go through large amounts of data using the UPC scanner. And there's a couple different ones. I think this one's just as good as anything that's out there. So, did somebody else have a question there?
I had a quick question. I think I misheard you. I'm not too sure. Did you say don't bundle things? Is that what you said? I'm
Yeah, so
confused.
this so see this listing how where this is clearly Taco Bell sauce and the brand So this guy here, this seller, Deal Dave, is registered his brand on Amazon. And you can tell he's got brand registry, visit the Deal Dave store. And so when he created this, to bypass the fact that he doesn't have a UPC or that he doesn't have permission to sell or list Taco Bell products, he put it underneath his own brand. See where it says brand Deal Dave?
Oh, okay.
And
That's what
so
you're saying.
it's a bypass, because if you have your own brand registered, you don't need a UPC. You can just, they have this thing called a GTIN exemption. And so it was our way of kind of getting around Amazon's restrictions. It was, you know, it allowed you to create 2-packs and multi-packs. And then people started trying to like put little moats around their products so nobody else could sell it. Some of them were legit, or at least tried to be legit. There was a company called Terrific Deal. I believe they were one of the ones that was sued.
Terrific Deals by the cup. Yes.
By the Cup was their brand, yeah. And they tried to do like, they've changed a lot of them. I saw some recently where they would try to do it in such a way where it was like the thing that you were bundling was complimentary, or it enhanced you know, the listing. I'm guessing as a result of the lawsuit that they probably
Get off.
rid of I thought a letter of authorization from the brand, but like on this one right here, like they used to have this was bundled with like some chopsticks that had the By the Cup brand on the chopsticks. And they used to sell a crap ton of these. I mean, multi-million-dollar brand. But Amazon came down and said, sorry. They started, you know, kind of policing it. So now we stay away from those. You want to make sure that the brand matches, you know, the brand of the product matches the brand of the on the listing. You want to
Gotcha.
stay away
Okay.
from those listings that are like private label brands, essentially. So
Cool.
it was good while it lasted. We did it. I'm not gonna lie. We did it. We had built a bundle that was making us $4,000 profit a month, and just it was fun while it lasted. And then the heat started coming down, and so it was just like, all right, we'll do something else, you know. It was one of those things that everybody was kind of doing it. It wasn't right. It was gray. But Amazon started policing it. So, and I think part of the reason they started policing is because people were doing such a crappy job. They were popping up everywhere, and you know, selling a toy with a sticker, selling a, you know, a supplement with a breath mint, or, you know, just kind of stupid stuff. But anyway,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. Anything, let's see, let me go through some of these questions here.
We got Amanda asked, if you are red restricted in a brand, can an invoice from a distributor push that through opening a case?
I honestly have never tried it. That's a great question.
Yes.
Nice. There you go. So if you're red restricted and you've got some kind of invoice directly from the brand or some type of letter of authorization from the brand, you can open a case. Sounds like.
They'll ungate you from their end.
Nice. Oh, I see. Like if the brand is brand registered, they'll add you.
Or if it's Amazon gated, they'll send a notice to Amazon that you just need to give them your merchant token.
Nice. Is that you just need do you need a letter of authorization for that, or do you just need the
It depends on Amazon's mood that day. I've had a brand send my merchant token to Amazon and be like, they are an authorized seller, literally one sentence, the end, and Amazon
Okay.
let me be there. And then I had another brand where I had to submit who I am, my account verification information, and the brand from their end had to submit like, so-and-so is authorized, has a contract,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Mood swings, whatever you want.
Yeah. I didn't know that. I've always just kind of, you see that the answer is no, and I would just kind of move on, but it's good to know for sure.
Marie asked, are you making a good profit with wholesale? Like, what would a good ROI be?
That's a great question.
Did you finish your books for the year?
No, everything, we're still compiling everything. I would say,
What are you hoping it to be?
yeah, that's a great question. I would say, I'm trying to think what last year's numbers were. I think finding products, kind of going back to this as an example, I think finding products in that 20-30% ROI is not super hard to find. I think you can negotiate some better deals if you do spend some money and you talk to a sales rep and you're like, hey, one of the ways that we try to negotiate a little bit better pricing is like if I talk to a sales rep and I'm going through the process of setting up an account, I'll always ask them, I'll say like, hey, we go through your catalog and we look for everything we can buy. If a product is like close, but you don't, it misses our minimums or our criteria, can I send you a list of those and see if you have any wiggle room on them? And every single time they've said yes to that. So I think you can get, pretty consistent in that 20-30% range, sometimes more. It just depends. In my experience, at my level, I'm not buying truckloads of anything. I don't have massive buying power. We've kind of built our portfolio of products around a lot of, products in the $2 to $5 profit range with, 20-30%, and just kind of built a catalog or a portfolio of products, and that a lot of base hits with some doubles and the occasional triple, or we got a couple products that are really nice, home runs for us, but that's been my experience, and that's been primarily in the grocery space. That's just the world. The very first number I found was a grocery distributor. I called them up, they gave me an account, and I'm like, I guess I'm going to sell grocery. And it's definitely less, you get less returns and, stuff like that, but then you're dealing with short dates as well. So there's pros and cons, but I used to sell a lot of, like, when I was doing arbitrage, I'd sell electronics, and you just get so many returns and you just get burned by returns. So I kind of moved into the consumables space. You didn't have to deal with that as much.
Brian says, what's the average lifespan on an ASIN before it tanks or whatever?
That's a great question. Geez, that's a great question. I think it's, for the most part, if it's almost an inevitability. I remember when I first started buying from Value Wholesale, we were carrying 50, 60 SKUs from them. This would have been in like 2019. 2020, we were buying 50, 60 SKUs. And just over time, it's gotten down to 12 or 15. It just, it's just the nature of, we're all using the same tools. A lot of us are using the same processes. There's somebody that can get this for substantially less than 275. It's just a matter of time before, the big sellers or the bigger than me sellers come around and, say, I'll take it from here. But I don't know if there's like an average time. But you can usually kind of tell from Keepa, like, hey, is this safe enough for me to buy 6 to 8 weeks worth of inventory and test it out? And that's kind of the way we operate right now. We do a lot of like a couple months at a time. Like I'm afraid to go really, really deep on anything anymore with Amazon, because you just don't know. You just don't know. I don't want. We've gotten burned by Amazon for some just the dumbest stuff. Products that get labeled as pesticides that aren't pesticides. Just products that got labeled as expired that had 2 years of shelf life, that it's just, I don't know. So we
Risky business with Amazon nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. So
Rich said, but if they do return the groceries back, you don't get the product, right? Doesn't that affect your numbers?
That's a great question. We get most of the stuff we get back is usually stuff that's short dated, like it's getting close to expiration. Yeah, to be honest with you, we don't get, or maybe I should, to that level of granularity. It's just kind of part of the business. Yeah, I'm assuming if Amazon complained, or a customer complained, Amazon refunded them. The Amazon's like, hey, don't ship it back, it's grocery. Yeah, I'm just probably out that 275. But I don't know that we really look at that. Maybe we should. It's probably more than we think, but
okay. Rich also asked, do you have a minimum that you shoot for with each distributor that you use?
Most of them will tell you kind of what their minimums are. Usually they're about 1,000, 1,500. I always try to start with, like, I think finding somebody in your geographic area is a great place to start, because there's a chance that they're going to offer you some kind of free freight. Maybe they delivered to your area already. So like this Universal Wholesale company, if you're within 25 miles of them, it's $1,000 minimum. Lansing, Flint, Port Huron, Toledo. I'm in Flint, so $1,500. So, yeah, I think the minimums are kind of subject, or distributor specific. And this is not the type of company that I can call a sales rep and negotiate a better price. It's just not the way they work. It's we tried. It's a high volume, so yeah, I just see what I can buy at their prices and I buy it, and what I can't, I just move on. But you will find, I think, like like they'll shipping charges may apply in some cases if shipping to a third-party fulfillment center or public storages. So like they'll work with Amazon sellers. So clearly, they've thought about it. And but what allows me to, like, because I know other people have this account, I know other people that have accounts with value, like another guy that I know, big Amazon seller, he's like, I can't make any money on value. It's too expensive for them to ship to Georgia. I'm like, they come to my warehouse every Saturday and they don't charge me anything. That's the only reason I can make a lot of these products work, is because I'm getting that free freight. So,
Oh yeah, that's nice.
but I don't really have a minimum per se. I mean, if you're trying to like, if you're trying to let them know, like, it's a brand or it's somebody you're like trying to let them know, like, hey, I'm not trying to waste your time. I think $3,000 to $5,000 is real money. I mean, it's a pretty good, like, hey, you're not gonna get rich off of me, but I'm not gonna waste your time either. I think that's a good place to start.
Andrew wants to know if you ever use credit cards when buying.
I don't. I don't. It's I just don't. You got to be really careful with the timing of cash flow. We had an order. We placed an order right before, like, trying to get a lot of our seasonal grocery stuff in. We placed the order in September, got it delivered, prepped, shipped in September, did not get checked in until the end of November. In 30-day terms, I don't remember what it was. One of the invoices was like $26,000. So, I personally, I don't like the feeling of stressing about money. And if you've got great cash flow and you're like, hey, I can churn these points and get cash back, and if it comes due, I've got the cash to pay for it, like, go for it. But I personally wouldn't time my inventory on a credit card, just because there's so much that's out of your control with Amazon. It's going to be, best case scenario, 2 months before you see that money back. You know what I mean? By the time it gets prepped, shipped, received, fully distributed, sold, moves beyond whatever the new, when they actually release the money to you, it's going to be a while. So I personally just don't use credit card. I did when I was doing arbitrage. I just don't do it with wholesale.
Okay. Marie asked, are you selling on any listings with Amazon? They always have the best price in grocery.
Yeah. We try to avoid Amazon for the most part, unless the volume is crazy. It's something that sells thousands of times a month, or we're able to maybe undercut them by a little bit and hope that we get some savvy shoppers. But generally speaking, so Scott Needham, who developed Smart Scout, Buy Boxer, way, way smarter than I am, they did the math on it, and he said, generally speaking, never compete with Amazon retail. And so I've always kind of taken that as pretty good advice. But that's not to say that I haven't tried. And you can use Keepa, to kind of see if maybe if does it look like they share the buy box, or other sellers have gotten the buy box. But generally speaking, I try to stay away from Amazon.
I think that's all the questions right now that's in the chat. If I missed anyone, can you repost the question so I can ask?
So just a couple comments. Adam said, I'd be afraid to order too many units, getting hard getting in. 100%. We've got a Gillette distributor. Gillette's kind of one of those brands that we have, because my account's been around since like 2017, and so we've got some brands that other people don't have. And with Gillette, it was about 50%. Like, there were some Gillette brands that some Gillette listings that we could sell on and others that we couldn't. So we found a distributor that carried some Gillette stuff, and I bought a test batch of, I don't know, $600-700 worth of stuff, just to kind of test it out, and then went to list it, and every single Gillette listing we were completely restricted from selling. So yeah, it's definitely, it's just the reality. That's, like I said, why we do a lot of, like, you know, get up to your ankles. I don't go crazy deep, tiptoe out of the water a little bit, couple months of inventory, but I personally don't go crazy deep on anything that I don't have a brand direct relationship with, or you know, someone that can kind of help me in the event that, you know, it goes wrong. But you know, there's still tons and tons of opportunity. I know sometimes I'm like, you're not doing a very good job of like selling, you know, wholesale coaching, but it's just the reality. It's just the reality of Amazon today. You just have to
Right.
be, you know, right now it's a very, for me, it's a very like, sit back and just kind of watch it all play out a little bit and see what the new normal, you know, what's the new normal. And that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's just like, all right, we'll keep selling, but like, we're not going to go crazy on anything. There's no one product or anything that if it got restricted or shut down, it's going to like cause us to have to shut the doors. But we're definitely, you know, definitely treading lightly.
Andrew says, how about cash and carry?
Yeah, those are fine. I know the Value Wholesale has a cash and carry. I think their prices are probably going to be a little bit higher, but I don't have any reservations with cash and carry. Just see if you can get an invoice of some kind as a receipt. Yeah, as long as it's attached to, you know, like some bigger distributor or whatever that you feel comfortable with, I don't have any reservations with that. Let's see.
Rich says you can only make those small $700 to $800 purchases because you bundle with other SKUs, right? You always have to meet a minimum of normally 3,000 to 5,000 on a single purchase with these distributors and brands. Is this true?
Yeah, so in that case there, that like Gillette was a part of another, you know, it was like other products that we bought to kind of get to that minimum. Yeah. But like I said, like it just depends. Like you know, here's a company you want to buy from them. If you're in the Cleveland, Columbus area, you're gonna have to spend $3,000. If you're in Michigan, anywhere between 1,000 and 2,500. So yeah, you're putting together you can kind of see how my buying went, you know, from you know, we were sending a lot of money, and then as 2023 started kind of tapering off, and then all of a sudden in 2024, it's like, yeah, we placed one order with these guys. But yeah, you're buying a lot of, you know, a lot of things that are like, this was $280, little test buy, $36, $1,100 to kind of come up with that, you know, that minimum. So, and I would guess if I checked all this stuff today, it's either not profitable or it's discontinued, or that's the other part of this too, is some of this stuff just doesn't get made anymore. And so you're constantly like, I always, when I thought of what wholesale was when I was an arbitrage seller, I was like, oh, I'll just be able to sell the same things over and over and over again. And what I found was it's really not that much different than arbitrage in the sense of you're constantly, you know, you can't get this product anymore. This product's not profitable anymore. There are some stuff that's kind of consistent, but at my level, it's just a lot of sell it while you can, try to find the next thing, which is no different than arbitrage, really. So. Anything else? Questions, tools?
Quick question. So when would it be ideal for somebody to hop into wholesale? transition from arbitrage to wholesale?
I don't know that I would leave arbitrage if you've got it, you know. I think I would look to adding wholesale, because I think the margins you find in arbitrage are probably going to be consistently probably better. But I think you could 100%, you know, look around your area and just kind of see like, hey, is there any distributor around here I could open up an account with and maybe have them shipped to a prep center? Or, you know, like, okay, I know I've got my prep center, and my prep center's in, you know, Maryland or whatever. Like, let me hop on Google Maps and you know, type in distributors in Maryland. Is Maryland, or maybe not Maryland, that's probably not the best.
You can do Oregon.
Oregon, there you go. Yeah, I was just trying to think of the sales, you know, the cities that have or the states that have, you know, no sales tax. Although with wholesale, you don't have to worry about that anyway. But yeah, you know, you could poke around and you could be like, hey, my prep center is in, you know.
So you essentially want the distributor to be closer to your prep center.
Well, yeah, that's something like let's say you're just, you know, prep center was in McKinnville, Oregon or whatever. You know, you might be able to find somebody in this area as an arbitrage seller that's willing to, you know, somebody's delivering to the gas stations, grocery stores, you know, mom and pop retail shops in this area. So maybe there's some of these companies here that would just drop a pallet off, you know, directly to your prep center for you. So, you know, even though you're living in, you know, Indiana or whatever, you could potentially, you know, find some wholesale opportunities where they would ship directly to your prep center for you. And you know, I like, if you can find things like, you know, when we bought this, I remember they're probably out of stock now. It's probably discontinued or whatever. But, you know, when I bought this, I bought 16 cases and there were probably 12 in a case. So, you know, I was able to buy 192 units of this. So I can't remember how much we were making on it, but super easy prep. And we used to sell the snot out of these, got restricted from Gillette, used to make a couple bucks on them. So it's possible that you can, you know, you can get some volume added to your business by adding some wholesale if you're an arbitrage seller. So, yeah, like I said, I don't know that I would jump all in into wholesale, but I would definitely consider adding it, or at least considering, you know, like looking into it, or potentially adding it to your, you know, to your portfolio or whatever.
Arbitrage and wholesale side by side.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. So now that I've basically talked you out of it, if we are doing small group, 2 nights, and we cover some of the stuff we cover here, but I've built out basically, let me see if I can find it for you. And absolutely no pressure whatsoever. I don't, hang on one second. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I'll kind of show you the kind of the curriculum that we go through.
And do you have like you have a link and everything for all this?
Yeah, let me throw, and then I think we created like a coupon code. It ends up being like $400. It's the asking price is $500. That's so that we can create a coupon code and give you $100 off and make you feel like you got a great deal. I'll send the link in the chat or to you guys. But basically what I do in the course is, let me see if I can. Am I still sharing my screen? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what I do is go through, from my experience, the entire process of, you know, from start, finding suppliers, finding products, making contacts, setting up accounts, catalog sourcing, reviewing the leads that you found from the catalog, placing orders, prep, ship, receiving, inventory management, account maintenance, and then really kind of show you how to build a system around that so that you find yourself working on your business and not so much in it, and really emphasize from the very beginning, like building out processes for each of these, so that when this happens, it triggers this. And you know, who does this in my business? Is it me? Is it a virtual assistant? Is it an employee? And a lot of this, you know, this stuff here, catalog sourcing, reviewing leads, same thing you're doing with arbitrage, you know, looking at Keepa, looking at price, you know, calculators, trying to make a determination if how deep can I go on this? Is it safe? You know, does this meet our buying criteria? Yes or no? Am I going to source this for just Amazon, or am I going to source it also for Walmart? And just kind of building out a process around this whole thing there. So, I'll send the website in the chat, but it's basically, what is it? resellingteacher.com/wholesale. February 11th and 12th, we're going to do 2 hours each night, 8 to 10 Eastern time. And then all the stuff we'll go through. There's a little bit about my story, some testimonials, and then there's a coupon code for the group that takes $100 off. So
send the link.
If I haven't talked you out, I've almost talked myself out of it sometimes. Yeah, Amanda said, make sure your prep center has a loading dock before you send them pallets. Yeah, absolutely. You can do some wholesale at home. I believe, Amanda or Brian, you can correct me on this, but I believe if you use the code community at checkout, that takes $100 off.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. And yeah, you can, like, some places will deliver to your house, but it's definitely something, most won't, but you can definitely ask. But yeah, you're gonna need we don't have a loading dock. We unload from the parking lot, just go through the front doors with our forklift, but you're gonna need, you know, somebody's gonna have to be able to receive, or you're gonna be breaking down, somebody's gonna be breaking down pallets in the parking lot, which is no fun. Yeah, you don't have to use, you don't have to have a forklift. But you're either gonna have to break them down or carry a bunch of boxes, or yeah, loading dock is great if your prep center has the ability to receive that. So yeah, boy, I feel like I've talked myself out of this business. I don't think
You
I
do a great
succeeded.
job at talking, though. So
What's that?
you do a great job at explaining all of this stuff. You can tell that you know your stuff. It's all legit and not misleading. You know, so
That's the
appreciate
part I
that.
think that's why I even kind of went into this space, is because I feel like the you know, the Lambros, like the young kids that are kind of in this space, are kind of, you know, selling the shine without the polish. You know, they're selling the sprinkles, but they're not showing you the messy kitchen it took to make the cake, kind of thing. I still think Amazon is a tremendous opportunity. It's just it's evolving, and we're caught in the middle of it, and it's not always comfortable. But I think there's just so much opportunity. I mean, like I said, I think I showed you guys Smart Scott. I mean, there's potentially, whatever it was, 8,000 brands, you know, that look like they work with third-party sellers, or potentially work with third-party sellers. You know, if you called 5% of those. You know, there's 400 brands that you could reach out to that, you know, there's huge opportunity. And if you're a Walmart seller or both, there's, you know, we do a little bit on Walmart, but I know a couple people that are just, they've said bye to Amazon. They're like, you know, we're riding Walmart to the moon. So.
Hey, Eric,
Yeah.
quick question. Would there be any way of reaching out to you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I don't know if I'm messaging the whole group. So I'm at the reselling. Oops, that's going to be 2. Let's see. Hang on a second. Let me stop sharing. On IG, it's at TheResellingTeacher. And then it's just oh, thanks, Amanda. Eric, if it's email's easier, ericlott@gmail.com. Yeah, and I'd be glad to answer any questions, even if you don't think the course is for you. Anything I can help you with, be glad to help. No charge.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much, Eric. You're awesome, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hopefully,
Appreciate
hopefully there was enough value there to help in some way.
Absolutely. Tons of value here.
Cool. All right.
And you got everybody's attention. You kept everybody's attention here for an hour and 45 minutes. So I appreciate
You know what
you
I
and your
found?
time.
This goes back to teaching. I found out if I just talk enough, I don't have to deal with any of the awkward silence, you know, when kids aren't paying attention or whatever. So you just tell me when to start and I'll just start, and tell me when to end and I'll just shut up. Aaliyah, is it Aaliyah as a teacher?
Yeah, that was me. I told you last time, I think, that I
that's
had left
right.
public education as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
What grade or what level are you?
I was elementary
Elementary.
for 15 years. So yeah.
There was just a podcast with Max. I think he's Common Ground Finds on Instagram. But we had like five teachers that left and just sell crap on the internet now instead. Podcast just recently.
Awesome. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, there's so many teachers that are just burned out from the.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They're dropping like flies.
Yep. And for me, it was never the kids. It was always
100%.
It was always the crap. And then
Yep.
now I'm like, you just traded your crap and now you just deal with Amazon's crap all the time. So, but I get to trade now I get to do Amazon's crap in shorts and I can come in at 9 o'clock in the morning if I want to. So it's
Same.
yeah, there's a little bit of a trade-off there. So
Right.
so all right, reach out, guys, Instagram or email if you guys have any questions. And yeah, if you would like a little bit more of the class stuff, use that code, saves you $100. And if we see you in February, we'll see you. If not, we'll see you when we see you.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.